Long-term evolution, or LTE technology, is regarded as the new generation in network connectivity and is a step up from 3G. This all-IP network technology is said to be able to provide users with 3 times the wireless throughput, as well as increase their network capacity considerably. It does have a catch though. It's not compatible with current 2 or 3G, needing a whole new technology backhaul. What does this mean, and is this then suitable for the African market? Joining me in studio to share his insights, Pete da Silva, CEO at Jasco. Pete, welcome.
Good to be here, thank you.
Now, talk of LTE has been around for some time and it's been delayed, but after quite a while, this week we saw Cell C switch on 2 of their base stations for trialling, and MTN have just announced that they'll be launching their LTE handsets and product availability from the 1st of December. Is this a step in the right direction, or how far off the mark are we still in comparison to territories such as the US and Asia?
I think we need to celebrate the step up. Takes me back to the early 90s when we launched the first generation, and then 2G and 3G and 3.5G. So yes, it's late, but it's here. Let's celebrate and let's make sure that we get the best benefit from it.
Now, the rollout of LTE is dependent on spectrum availability.
Absolutely.
A hot issue and a hot topic, and it's been delayed along with local loop unbundling.
It must be understood that LTE is wireless, so therefore it's not an infinite resource. It's owned by government. So government needs to clear that spectrum up and then reallocate it. At the moment, a big bulk of that spectrum is lying in Centec's hands because of our analog TV. So we got to move to digital TV. That's not the only excuse. The upper end would be available, but it needs to be commercially distributed to the operators. And that's what we're waiting for now as step 1.
But step 1 is seemingly still a long way off. We've been talking about this for a number of years. When are we actually going to see something happening? Look,
I think the interaction has to be between government and the potential license holders, first and foremost. I think it can happen in parallel. The good thing to see is that test trials are happening. They're announcing them every day now, and that's happened in 2G and 3G. Let's push that, and let's make sure that government and the commercial entities get together and resolve this and make it commercially available to you and I.
Let's talk about commercial availability. It seems that each network is now investing in their own infrastructure. We've heard about the cost wars. Does it not make more sense to have a unified approach to this?
I thought I was the only one waving that flag. Yes, look, I think the industry has been talking about a wholesale LTE, or what people may refer to as a 4G network. I'm all for it. I cannot see everybody building out an LTE network as we've done with 2G and 3G. We have over 100% capacity or penetration of cell phones, not intelligent phones or smartphones, but phones. It makes no sense for 6 operators or more to go and build up an LTE network. I say build one, have equity from all the participants, let them retail, and guess what? Government will have its own objective to get. They can force then that this wholesale network goes into rural areas, and then we have the broadband for all.
Now, besides the spectrum, we're talking about building a unified sector. It also needs fibre backhaul, something which we're struggling with at the moment, not only in South Africa but on the rest of the continent. When is this going to be resolved, given the monopolization situation of the current incumbent?
Look, we talk LTE or 3rd generation, 4th generation as wireless. It's only wireless for a certain aspect. The backhaul can't be wireless. We're getting to such a big size of bandwidth requirement that fibre is the only way to go. The good news is the undersea cable is everywhere. We got to and there's a lot of trenching going on, but we got to force that. Broadband has to become ubiquitous. That means it has to be everywhere. I equate it to mineral water. It's all the same, only the brand changes. If we can achieve that, we're 99% there.
But you also need the devices to be able to utilize LTE. We've seen the likes of Samsung investing in that, bringing out their new models. But it comes with the whole smartphone debate and penetration levels, not only in South Africa, on the continent, still low levels. And it comes down to affordability.
Absolutely, and that's the next step. And people would want the best product, but nobody's going to buy a cheap old 2G phone. They'd rather pay a little bit more for a discounted smartphone, and this is where the market has to go. We have to get the penetration and the benefit to all, and that means smartphone devices at the right prices.
Let's talk about Africa. Now, South Africa, we've mentioned there are challenges, but we're seemingly heading in the right direction. Africa has a lot of undersea cables. We're seeing them landing almost yearly, but the backhaul is not there, bringing that through to the cities, to the towns. The last mile is still problematic. How are we ever going to get to LTE there?
I don't think the story is as dire as it is. we are starting to lose, South Africa is starting to lose its status as the stepping stone into Africa in terms of ICT. If you look at Nairobi and Kenya, and you look at West Africa as well, with the undersea cables landing there, the distribution is happening as we speak. So it's going. LTE was launched in Tanzania and in other countries before South Africa.
So they're actually ahead of us.
They're ahead of us, absolutely. They launched ahead of South Africa. For one of the first times, we were not the lead in Africa. So we should not sit back on our laurels. I put it to you that some of the countries in SADC specifically will be ahead of us. Also in cleaning up the spectrum, in other words, digitizing their TV signals.
Also, let's talk about the future. First of all, there's confusion between 4G and LTE. That is actually, people sometimes think it's the same thing.
Well, I'm sure the techies out there are waiting for that. LTE is not necessarily 3G. As the UMTS wasn't 3G, it was 2.5G. LTE is 3.5G, if I can put it
so
that way.
So not true 4G?
Not true. We're talking about LTE Advanced or LTE Enhanced coming later on, and that would be what the geeks really call as 4G. But I think the marketing guys, you know, what's a sexier brand? I'd rather call it 4G than LTE or UMTS or HSPA.
All the acronyms.
Let's call it 4G or nearly 4G.
Pete, what's the future? What are you hoping for LTE in South Africa and the rollout in Africa for the future?
I said ubiquitous. We've got to drive down costs. We've got to drive down pricing for broadband. We've got to make broadband available for all. And I think the issue of a shared network or a wholesale LTE network must be put on the agenda.